Good morning. It is Friday, the 15th of August, 2025. I'm Graham Hughes. You are watching Morning Brew on Politics Social. Welcome, welcome. If you'd like to join our friends in the chat here, including Lost Missionary and Butterfly Chaos. And we've got Martin Harrow in there as well, Paul Ewan, Gallifrey and Wren. If you'd like to join them in the chat, all you need to do is hit the subscribe button. Wait for a minute and you'll be able to kind of opine fairly openly. Just don't be a troll, because we're kind of not troll tolerant here on the channel. So today we're going to be talking about humanity's crazed, icky obsession with toxic slime. So the big headline is that the UN negotiations started in 2022 to create a legal treaty to end plastic pollution has collapsed in failure because of the icky slime companies that want to sell their icky foreign carbonaceous slime to us. And that's how you make plastics. And so the more plastics we make, the better. And then they say, oh, but hang on, it's all up to you to recycle the plastic. It's all on you. It's not on us. We're just making it because you demand it. No, I don't demand it. I'd much rather that the stuff that you provide us is in tin cans or in glass bottles that can be recycled. Really recycled. Unlike plastic, which fucking can't. All right? Only 9% of plastics are recyclable. Recyclable. But never mind being recycled. Absolute madness. Anyway, we'll get into it in a moment. First of all, to kick off the chat, we've got Paul Ewan with the first super chat of the morning. So thank you very much to Paul Ewan for that. For a Friday Ribena. Ooh, I could do with a Ribena. Put it in the microwave. Hot Ribena. Yeah. Or you can just do the kettle. Put some Ribena in the bottom of a cup and put it in. That probably tastes better than putting it in the microwave. But yeah, Ribena, hot Ribena when you're not feeling well. It's good. It's good. It's good. We've got Viper Scott saying there, in there saying, hi Diz, hi Scott, hi Billy, hi Plum, Duff, hi Sars, hi Veg Pie, morning all. Morning. I'm absolutely gutted that I didn't get to go to the Skunk and Nancy gig and the Smashing Pumpkins gig last night with Supertansky and Scott Williams. The reason, well, you know, other than seeing me mates and having a nice time at a gig, they got to meet Skin from Skunk and Nancy. There's photos on Instagram of them hanging out. Bit jealous. Doesn't matter. It's fine. Don't want to go to the stupid gig anyway. Anyway, right. So today we're going to be talking about humanity's love affair with things that slowly poison us. You know, plastics, toxic chemicals, fascism. We got three stories today that I want to delve into, which are connected by a common theme: industrial profits overriding environmental and public health concerns in three different sectors. So the key point I want to make is the people who make money from environmental disasters keep telling us they're working on solutions, while making the problems worse. They're not working on solutions. They're not making things better. They want to just drill, baby, drill. That is why they put their friend Donald Trump, the sex offender, the rapist Donald Trump, into power in America, is so they could drill, and no one would stop them and no one would care about environmental concerns. So let's talk about the plastic treaty collapse in Geneva. This is news on the top of the Guardian and on the BBC page. That's not to do with the summit today or the meeting between Putin and Trump. So this is the sixth round in 3 years, and all have failed so far. The original deadline was December 2024. That's flown by. And there is the pro-reduction camp, which is the UK, the EU, about 100 nations that want to cut production at the source and have force better product design for recycling. And then there's the oil state camp, which is the nice countries, the countries where you really want your kids to grow up in, the ones where you'd like to retire maybe by the stadium where they behead people. I don't know. There's Saudi Arabia, there's Russia in there, and others who want to keep pumping plastic products out and focusing only on recycling. And I'll say it again, only 9% of plastics are recyclable. It's a con. It's an absolute con. Yes, recycle paper. Yes, recycle glass. Yes, recycle metal. Plastic, forget about it. You know, it's like trying to recycle food. It doesn't quite work. You know, it's like, oh, give us your leftover food and we'll recycle it into more food. Good luck with that. You're dealing with organic matter. Not gonna work that way. Not gonna work that way. Wrong, Graham, says Joanna. Oh God, I love it when I wake up in the morning and I'm wrong. I love being corrected. It's actually on my Tinder profile. It says, I love being corrected. But there you go. Saudi Arabia is a lovely place, I should say. I was being sarcastic. Why oil? Why oil states love plastic? Because plastics are made of oil, and with petrol and diesel expected to demand for petrol and diesel expected to go off a cliff due to the EV transition. Plastics are their plan B for flogging their dirty, disgusting, toxic fossil fuels at us. The carbonaceous slime that they like us to drink. Drink the slime, like Milo Minderbinder in Catch-22, where he tries to force people to eat his cotton because he's got too much cotton. So can you eat it? Just eat the cotton. Eat the slime. Eat the toxic slime. Eat the black toxic slime. And as a result of the plastic proliferation over my lifetime, now there are microplastics everywhere. Everywhere. They're found in soil, rivers, oceans, air, human blood, human brains, lungs, and even placentas. They found plastic pollution at the top of Everest. They found it in the Antarctic. They found it in places where no human has been. And the global recycling rate is less than 10%. And even doubling it still leaves vast pollution, which is clogging up our rivers, clogging up our seas. We have these vast garbage sites in the sea, and that's just the ones that float. And let's not forget the people who are causing this are the fishermen out on the water who just think nothing of throwing their plastic net out when they're done with it. By weight, the biggest polluter is fishing stuff. Fishing equipment, fishing nets, etc. And the second, by weight, in the world is cigarette tips. Cigarette filters. Because you know when smokers throw their cigarette on the ground and it goes into the gutter, it goes down in the gutter into the drain, it goes into the same drain that, feeds all the houses nearby and also, doesn't feed them, it takes the shit away from all the houses nearby, same drain, goes down there, and then it gets, it's indestructible. It's indestructible, it doesn't burn, it's just indestructible. And that goes into the sea. And it's just the right size for a fish to think, oh, that's something to eat. Now there are some the production boom is insane. From 2 million tons of plastics that were being made in 1950 to nearly 500 million tons in 2022, and that number is still rising every day. And then there are some companies that actually are pro a treaty on this. Nestle, Unilever, they support curbs and levies to fund recycling. And I understand if I was an evil corporation, which I'm not, well, I'm trying not to be. I'm trying my best not to be evil. But if I was an evil corporation, right, and I'm left with a choice, I can either make more expensive packaging myself, which is going to drive the price of my product up, but none of my other competitive products up. So why would I do it? What you need is a rule, a law, an understanding, a treaty that says all of that company's competitors have to also raise their game. And until that happens, Nestle, Unilever, etc. won't do it. And you can kind of see why. It's why pub owners wouldn't ban smoking of cigarettes in their pubs before the smoking ban, because they knew if 9 people turned up and one dickhead in that group smoked, and they were like, "Oh, I can't smoke in here. I can't give everyone lung cancer. Oh, I want to give everyone cancer. Can I just go just a little bit of cancer?" And they'll say, "Okay, well, we'll all go to the pub across the road that allows us to smoke if they're in a no-smoking pub." So what you have to do is make the rule and make all pubs stick to the rule, and then there's no point in going over the road because you can't smoke there anyway. Same idea. Now, who's anti this treaty? Well, of course, the US plastics lobby and the oil lobby. The people who are destroying the planet at a rate that will make your brain spin. And Graham Forbes from Greenpeace says ending plastic pollution means confronting fossil fuel interests head on. Which, is a little less dramatic than we're all going to die! But that's what he means. That's what he's trying to say. Let's have a look in the chat. Let's see what Joanna's picked me up on. What have I said wrong, Joanna, at 9 o'clock in the morning? I love this. And there goes Graham again. Sarcasm extreme. I don't care anymore. As I said, the 9% estimate is how much is recycled, not what can be recycled. Oh, sorry. Well, that's me putting my place in it. I hate it when I make a small mistake on the stats. It's very important. I'll do my little thing to say where's my little thing that says I was wrong? Hang on. Oh, there you go. I was wrong. It's 9%. That is recycled, not that can be recycled. Didn't put that important word in there. But, I'll just turn up every morning and give you a 2-hour lecture. And if I get something slightly wrong, please let me know, because it's fine. It's fine. Anyway, so can I go on? Am I allowed to? Joanna, if you want, you can do your own shows in the morning, right? And we can watch them. And if you make a small error, I'll all caps, I'll go wrong like that. Yeah, that's something that, no, actually, I wouldn't do that. But anyway, moving on. So, yeah, we've talked about recycling before on this channel, about it being a fig leaf. It's the main sort of greenwashing of our era when it comes to plastic. And plastic's chemical load, it's a public health crisis, not just an environmental one. When you learn that, 1%, it might not be exactly 1%, of your brain is now plastic because of all the microplastics in it, there are island nations like Palau that are being sacrificed despite contributing almost nothing to the problem. Palau has the Rock Islands, which are this pristine, well, they were pristine, UNESCO World Heritage area, and a phenomenal bit of the world, a beautiful, beautiful bit of the world. It's getting swamped by plastics that are coming over from Japan and China and Taiwan and washing up, because a lot of it flotsam. Anyway, let's move on. God, I'm just, it's been a long week. Anyway, so the UK's data centre explosion. Let's talk about this, right? Because this has got environmental factors as well. The UK has 477 data centres now, and that's set to grow by around 100. That's a 20% increase over the next 5 years. And the big projects include the 10 billion Blackstone AI Centre in Blyth. I assume that's Blyth in Newcastle, in Northumberland. I don't know. Another Blyth, might be wrong. That's going to be 10 buildings. It's going to be over 500,000 square meters. And that's going to start be going in 2031. Microsoft has got 4 sites. It spent £330 million it's invested on Leeds, Newport, and Acton. And this is like, honestly, this is like playing an old. You remember the old video games where, like, you got one life, and then if you made one mistake, then you had to start all over again. That's how I'm feeling this morning. Anyway, So and then Google, I've got 2 sites, and they're investing £450 million, and that means only over half of London and surrounding countries. Over half are in London and surrounding counties even. And the others are in Wales, Manchester, Scotland. And the AI and cloud computing is driving demand. And this is something that a lot of computer firms, tech firms are putting into their products without us asking. I do not need AI in WhatsApp. What the fuck do I need AI in WhatsApp for? I do not need that. I do not need to save things to the cloud. I work on a lot of videos, and videos are fucking huge. I am not going to sit here and wait for 100 gigabytes to upload and download from the fucking cloud. And no, I can't get internet fast enough to play back 4K video in real time. It just, the capacity to do that does not exist in this country. And even if it does in certain areas, I don't have the money to pay for that kind of shit. So yeah, the idea of running things from the cloud when you're working with incredibly big video files is absolutely fucking nutty. And so yeah, I don't want to. No, Microsoft, I don't want to save to the cloud, but it wants to force me to, even though I do not want to save to the cloud. Do you understand? I want things available all the time. I don't want it to be, oh, sorry, you can't get an internet connection in this country, in this cafe, in this pub, in this wherever the fuck you are. You can't do your work. I want it there locally on my laptop. It's fine. I can send the files I need from my PC to my laptop pretty easily. I don't need it to go through the cloud. Thank you very much. If I do need to use the cloud, and I kind of use the cloud in a way that a lot of my videos, so my travels and things like that, there's a copy of them on YouTube because that's unlimited. You can just put as much stuff as you like on YouTube. But yeah, that's actually, yes, I have made the decision to do that. And when I use ChatGPT to help with getting my statistics slightly wrong, I use ChatGPT. I do not need AI in Facebook. I don't need it in WhatsApp. I don't need it in Instagram. I don't need it in fucking what's it called? Twatter, whatever, X. I don't even use that. Like, I don't need it there. I have a place where I want it, and I can use that one. It's like saying everyone has to have a personal Siri, Alexa assistant. I don't need one. I don't have one. I don't need one. It's not something that interests me. But trying to force me to have one, I'd be like, fuck off. But what this is doing is meaning that there's this massive demand for data. And this is, the UK is already the third largest center globally for data, I believe, after the US and Germany. And the government has declared them critical national infrastructure, apparently. Not like the trains then, eh? Not like the water. How about the water? How about the... But here you go. The water use and the cooling needs of these data centers is huge. And they use water, most of them. And many operators don't declare how much water they're using. So just to give you some idea of the energy demand, it could add up to 71 terabytes, terawatt hours. God, get it right, Graham. I'm really stressed now. Get it right. 71 terawatt hours over 25 years, which puts a massive strain on the grid. For example, in Ireland at the moment, there's a moratorium on data centers in Dublin due to the electricity strain. 1/5 of the electricity in Ireland is going into these data centers. 1/5. And yeah, the cooling needs are massive. And US data has shown that citizens in areas where there are massive data centers see higher bills. In Ohio, for example, electricity bills have gone up on average $20 a month. So who pays for this extra infrastructure that's needed to get all this new energy to these data centers? Not the data centers, not these corporations like Google and Microsoft and the Meta that pay bugger all in corporation tax in this country. Because they all operate at a loss, don't you know? It's funny that when these companies are trying to get people to buy their shares, they're making huge profits, and when they have to pay taxes, they're skint. It's funny that, isn't it? We've all got a mate like that, haven't we? We've all got a mate like that who's, flush 1 minute and then next minute they can't afford to get around in. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. That's basically all the big tech companies. Oh, we're so poor. I'm property. What do they say? I'm asset rich but cash poor. That's what they say. Mm. Anyway, so yeah, there is a pushback on these data centers. Now, look, all things being equal, I'm not necessarily against these data centers being here, right? I appreciate they make jobs, they bring money into the economy. However, if you're going to let them be built, you're going to have to make sure they recycle their water. You know, they have things set up so they're not stealing all the water from the local people who need that water, because we've had water privatization for many years. And now we're going to sell it to the Chinese for some reason. Jesus. Because someone's got to make a profit. It may as well be the Chinese. Jesus. That's what's happening to Thames Water, by the way. I don't know if you know that about Thames Water's getting perhaps sold to a Chinese company. Yeah. Yeah, terrifying. But yeah, and also when they build these data centers, they have to supply their own power. That's the rule. There you go. You can't have any power off the grid. You have to supply your own power. So with that data center comes the entire roof covered in solar panels, and there needs to be a couple of turbines nearby that power that data center. That's it. That's the rule. That is the rule. And there's a big wind farm going on. They can sponsor a couple of wind turbines and say, right, there are wind turbines. And the wind that we get from there, the energy that we get from there, can drive our data centers. And then, you know, the digital economy is often sold as clean, but the infrastructure is anything but. And we're seeing there's a data center, a Musk-owned data center in... Oh, shit, I'm going to get this wrong now. Oh. Do you want to just sit there while I Google everything before I say it? It might turn into a bit of a boring show, but I don't want to get it wrong because, you know, ADHD. Let me just see. Data center, I think it's in Memphis. Data center, what is it? Musk. Memphis. What's about Memphis one? Coming up. Right, Colossus in Memphis. Power. Yeah. And this, yeah. So this is his AI, XAI plant, Memphis supercomputer. And apparently it is one of the biggest air polluters in America. And it is insane. Like that they have brought in at least 35 portable methane gas turbines without air permits to help power its supercomputer. So that's what they've done in America. You can imagine what they would do here if they could get away with it. And we're a much smaller country. And this data center in Memphis is actually, you know, it's killing people in Memphis already. It's causing negative health impacts. Yeah. So yeah, the public profit versus public utility costs. The tech giants are going to get richer, and the rest of us are going to have to pay the bill. And yeah, this is. I mean, to me, the fact that this isn't factored in already, and that these data centers don't have to disclose their water use, it's just bonkers. Like, how can there not be things in place to make sure that happens? I mean, water. It's all right. It's not part of our critical national infrastructure or nothing. You just use as much as you like, mate. You just use as much as you like. So I'll dive into the chat if I dare. Micro Hard would have been a much more macho name. Micro Hard? I don't understand. Viper Scott says 1.3 gigawatt interconnectors from Ireland to Scotland. Heard there is going to be another one. Just because of what Graham just said. Oh, you're talking about the data centers, yeah. I asked Gemini yesterday what the deal is with GB Energy. The answer was very vague, to say the least. Well, you could ask Labour, and the answer will probably be very vague, to say the least. And yeah, I don't use clouds. There's no guarantee how long those servers will be maintained and kept online. Save stuff to current storage devices and copy it over now before the old ones become obsolete. Well, you're already seeing, like, I got a thing from Photobox or something that I used a few years ago to make an album for my dad to look at pictures before he couldn't do that anymore. And yeah, so I got like 200 pictures on there, and it's like, do you want us to delete these pictures? We're going to delete these pictures in like a couple of weeks if you don't buy another product. And I'm like, are you really short of space? It reminds me of the days back in the 90s. Some of my older viewers will remember this fondly. When your Hotmail account, they'll start saying, oh, we're going to have to delete some of your messages from your Hotmail account. And you have to spend half your life deleting fucking spam that you didn't even fucking want. Because otherwise you'd lose messages from loved ones that you actually did want. Do you remember that? Yeah, like 5 megabytes, was it? Was it maybe 5 megabytes of storage that you were allowed? It's like, oh, you're hitting your 5 megabyte limit now on your emails. Delete some. You need to delete some. And those two things are just mad. Like they're saying, oh, we're going to have to get rid of the old cloud service and just delete everything off it. And at the same time, they're like, oh, we need more. Yeah, we need to put things online that don't need to be online, which is the whole thing of like putting everything in on a Microsoft computer into the cloud. Everything needs to be in the cloud. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. There's no such thing as cloud. It's someone else's data center. Yes, that's true. The amount of heat that's generated by these data centers could easily be utilized to provide heating and hot water to domestic and commercial properties. Very good point, Chris C. I like the way you put that across. It's very true. Martin says, I don't use clouds. There's no guarantee. Oh yeah, I've read that one. And then why are we selling infrastructure to China? Says Diz. Money. Because the people with money like money and they want more money. Because like £1 billion isn't enough for them. They need more money on top of that to, I don't know, attack trans people. Numerous stories coming out now of cisgender women being harassed in toilets, something that the horrible misogynistic turfy people said would never happen. And it's happened. There was a situation in America where a young woman who was 18 years old, was in the cubicle in a fast food place, and one of the employees of the fast food place came and banged on the cubicle door and told her she had to get out of there because she wasn't a woman. So this 18-year-old came out and she showed the employee her breasts so she could get on with having a piss. Just, that is the world that the TERFs want. That is the world that the germs, that the J.K. Rowlings want. And of course, the woman in question, the 18-year-old, was black and a lesbian. So, you know, women's rights. See, the thing is, with being a TERF, the R should stand for racist. Trans exclusionary, racist fucker. That's what it should stand for, because that's what they are. Anyway, but yeah, I'm getting derailed. Sorry, Paula. Paula, so that's one good thing about AI spam filters. Well, there's a few good things about AI. I don't have a problem with it as a concept. I don't want to put the genie back in the bottle. I don't think you can. But what we can do is regulate it properly, and that's what's not happening at the moment. There's an incredible story yesterday about a breakthrough, an AI breakthrough, for finding antibiotics that would work against gonorrhea and superbugs. I've forgotten what the initials are. I'm sure someone will tell me in the chat. That's MRSA. Oh, no, probably getting that wrong. New Baduk says, what do you think the age verification thingy? Apparently Pornhub is down to 47% decrease in traffic. I think that I don't have a problem with the overall concept of it, but I think the implementation is clumsy and obviously done by someone who doesn't know what they're doing. Like the ways around it are myriad, and the people who are using the internet to mean harm are still going to get away with it. And I think that the porn sites need better regulation. And if you're going to do this, it shouldn't be up to individuals to give their details to a porn site. I find that stupid and weird. And like, why would you give your passport details to, you know, if someone said, here, oh, Graham can have a look inside your passport, I wouldn't hold it up to the screen because you get all my data. You know, like, you could do stuff with it. And you're going to give this to a porn company, after all the data breaches that we see time and time again, when we hear about M&S getting hacked, when we hear about the Co-op getting hacked, when we hear about, I get an email every now and again from some fucking thing I've signed up to 17 years ago that says, oh, sorry, we got hacked, and now some hacker knows your name and how old you are and where you were born and your dad's maiden name and all that shit. And I'm like, well done. So, how do you do this? Well, you set up on the gov.uk website an age verification tool, and you get a code, that is for you, and then it gets put on your phone. And when you try to enter a porn site, it asks you to verify who you are using your thumbprint on your phone, and that's linked to your number, which says, yes, you are verified, but doesn't give any information like your name, date of birth, eye colour, inside leg measurement to the fucking porn sites. Is that not, like, why not do it that way? Well, because it costs more money to do it that way. The government have to set that up. But so what? I mean, it's a safer way to do it. It's a better way to do it. Why have they set up a situation in which it makes it a lot more easier for people stealing your data, which is like half the people on the internet, it seems, or half the people who run the internet, to get away with it? Give them a sporting chance. Give them a head start, eh? It's the British thing to do. I just think, yeah, mate. There are better ways of doing it. Better ways of doing it. Agreed. I just don't want the baby thrown out with the bathwater. Yeah, absolutely agree on that, Paula. I think that it's the way that Labour and previous governments have gone about trying to do anything with tech just shows how out of touch they are, and just like, I don't know. It's painful. It's painful to watch, even if you only know a little bit about tech. It's like watching someone one finger type really slowly. The works of Shakespeare. Anyway, so my message was about TERFs. Clip your rant and turn it into a YouTube short because it's a good story to explain the problem. Says Scott. Oh, thanks very much. Yeah, that's a good idea, Scott. I should do that. If I get the time. I'm going to be run ragged this morning, and well, today, the whole day today. I've got to go into town this morning before I do the show with Phil, and then I've got to go to Newcastle after the show with Phil. Then I've got to take the kids, and I've got to go, and I've got to make dinner, and I've got to clear up, and then I've got to do the night show. So tonight, I'm probably going to be half asleep. Like I say, I've been under the weather all week. This week, just it's a bit much. Anyway, at least it's warm. So part 3. Let's talk about the forever chemicals at UK airports. So PFASs. These are per and polyfluoroalkyl substances. Polyfluoroalkyl. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. I don't really care anymore. But yeah, 10,000 compounds. These are used in firefighting foams, non-stick pans, waterproofing, and industrial coatings. These are called forever chemicals because they don't break down in nature. They are linked to cancers, immune suppression, and hormone disruption. 17 airports have been found in the UK. 17 airports have been found with PFAS levels above EU safe limits, sometimes not just tens of times higher, not just hundreds of times higher, but thousands of times higher. The worst offender, London Luton Airport, with 36,084. So let's just say 36,000. 36,000 NG/L, or maybe NG/I. I don't know. PFAS samples in I'm guessing that NG is nanogram per liter. I guess NG/L. Anyone tell me what that stands for? I think it's nanograms per liter. Let's just say. okay? PFAS in one sample, okay? Now, it doesn't really matter what the fucking letters stand for, but, okay, so 36,084 nanograms per litre, right? 36,000, right? The EU safe limit is 4.4. The safe limit is 4.4, and they're on 36,084. Is that a bit concerning? Are you a bit concerned? Are you adequately concerned? Are you sitting comfortably? Are you sitting concernedly? Oh my God. And and 4 airports are in designated drinking safeguard zones. So all those PFASs going into your kids, into the water, into your nan. In Jersey, residents have advised to give blood to reduce PFAS levels after the airport contamination. And in France, a region had to be shut down. A region had to be shut. A region had to shut down its entire water supply due to PFASs. PAFS. I mean, it is a plural, so let's just say PFAS. Due to airport PFAS, they had to shut down the water supply for an entire region in France. And experts are saying that contamination risk depends on whether chemicals can reach water sources. But with the UK water infrastructure, that's far from impossible. Yeah. And then we got the official response to the airport's UK industry is spending $5 million investigating sources. So the airports are marking their own homework, just like the newspapers mark their own homework, just like the MOD just marked its own homework. Just mark your own homework. It's fine. Oh, I got 10 out of 10. Gold star on a jelly baby. Go me. And then we've got DEFRA, who are looking into regulating PFAS in firefighting foams. And then, this is a problem that goes back decades. And PFAS is a case study in profit now, deal with poison later policy making. See also the worldwide nuclear power industry of the 20th century. Profits today, worry about stuff tomorrow. Somebody else's problem field out of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Ooh, hello, Chris C. Thank you very much for the £2 super chat. That's very kind of you. Another Brexit benefit, lower regulations. Yeah. Correct nanograms per litre. Oh, good. I'm glad I got something right. Got there in the end. Anyway, so there's a lack of UK limits versus the EU's proposed standards, and this is fueling a regulatory race to the bottom, as Chrissy points out, another Brexit benefit. That's a comment steeped in sarcasm, obviously, just make that very clear. And public health risk plus infrastructure neglect, it seems to be a recipe for disaster. But whether it's plastic pollution, data center strain, or PFAS contamination, the same dynamics are in play. Short-term corporate gains outweigh long-term public health. Politicians talk tough, but fail again and again and again to set binding limits or enforce the limits that they do bring in, if they do bring them in. And the public is left paying the price. Not just like in terms of our energy bills going up, but also our health and our environment. And we need to have a ban. We just do it unilaterally. We don't need to make other countries do it as well. We just ban single-use plastic. End of. Just end it. Ban or sharply limit single-use plastics at source. That's it. They're not allowed in this country. We're just not going to have them. Why do we have to wait for everybody else to do it? Why can't we just lead the world for once in our miserable, godforsaken existence as a country? Can't we just lead the fucking world at something good? We did this. We did this back in the 80s with CFCs. We led the world in the banning of CFCs. We could be an exemplar. We could be the country that other countries look to say, yes, that's what you get with good regulation. That's what you know, how green and pleasant it is. And everyone's got water. It doesn't have microplastics in it. And it doesn't have bloody forever chemicals in it. We need to legally, and we need to implement legally enforceable PFSA limits and cleanup obligations. We need to force tech giants to pay full environmental and infrastructure costs into the costs of their data farms. If they want a data farm, yeah, that's fine. You got to provide your own water. You got to provide your own power. See you later. It's not up to us as taxpayers to pay for it. Could you imagine if I was living in Panama, fucking Whitey over here on the island, and I was demanding that the people who live there full time in Panama supplied me with water and electricity like this? No, you should pay for that out of higher bills in the town on the big island. Yeah, I mean, the locals will chase him over a tree and set fire to it, quite rightly. So yeah, this world that we're trying to, we want to see in the future is being our dream of a cleaner, brighter, healthier world is being stamped on by the oil producers and and these are all linked to oil production, all linked to fossil fuel production across the board. If you are a fossil fuel producer, you know that the end is nigh. You don't know how many decades you're going to have left of the grift because people aren't going to buy this stuff in the future. But here's the thing, right? We're still going to need plastics in the future. In 10,000 years' time, plastics are still going to be useful. So stop burning the fucking stuff. All right? Stop burning it. Why are we burning it all? Like, why are we making single-use plastics and then burning the fucking plastic? Stop it. They only use plastics in situations when nothing else will do. It should be the last resort, not the first, when packaging something. You go into the supermarket and you buy some Kinder Buenos, which are these little wafer biscuit things. They're bumpy and they're really nice, right? But you buy them. They come in an unrecyclable plastic thing, sleeve, and you open up the sleeve and then you take out your Bueno, right? And that is individually, it's got two fingers, so imagine it like a Twix or a Kit Kat or something, so two fingers inside it, right? More like a Twix, right? So imagine you open your Twix, the plastic wrapping of your Twix, and inside the plastic wrapping of the Twix, you have your two Twixes, which are each in individual plastic wrapping. And that's what Kinder Bueno do in this country. How is that legal? I have no clue as to how in the world of shit that is legal. That you could achieve the same goal of separating the two things so they don't fuse together, I guess, with a bit of cardboard. But obviously it's cheaper to make it out of carbonaceous slime. Clearly it's cheaper to do it that way. So that they do, because it's the cheapest way of making their product the way they want to make their products, instead of forcing them down the route of having paper packaging. When I was a kid, you got a lolly ice or an ice lolly or an icy pole or a popsicle or whatever you call it in your native tongue, and it would be wrapped in paper. I think it was had like wax on the inside, remember? And then you had to sort of blow in it, and then you pulled it off. It's all in plastic now. All your Fabs and your Magnums and everything, they're always in plastic, never in paper. The milk that we get that is bought at the supermarket is always in plastic. We need to end that. It needs to be back in glass. It needs to be back in bottles, and we need to just recycle them because glass bottles are the best thing to recycle, because all you need to do is wash the bastards out and then you can fill them up with liquid again. Fab! Thank you very much to Chris C for the £5 super chat. The Only reason why we banned CFCs is because Thatcher was a chemist and was aware of the damage being caused. Another PM wouldn't have bothered. Maybe that is the case, but Angela Merkel over in Germany, she was a scientist as well. I think she had a chemistry degree as well. I mean, maybe she went to PhD level. I'm not sure, but she was a scientist, and yet Germany wasn't really big into nuclear power. The Green Revolution didn't kick off under Angela Merkel. She didn't seem to give that much of a toss about it, and Germany continued on burning Russian gas until, well, it's still burning it now. Viper Scott says, yep, Faslane, Colpart with the Subsco, looking into the 4th estuary because of decommissioning the old subs at the Modport base. Oh yeah, I've heard about leaking of radiation in Faslane. Lost Missionary, it's hard to take things away from people, Graham, and until enough people feel the detriment a big enough degree, can it change? Yes, it can, because we took away the right to smoke. We took it away from the 1 in 5 people in this country who smoke. We took that right to force me to inhale their incredibly toxic gases and disgusting, horrible, icky, horrific stink, to inhale that into my nostrils. That was taken away from them, and people complained about it, but they soon got used to it. And what happened as a result of the smoking ban is that childhood asthma rates went off a cliff. I mean, kids still get asthma, especially if they live near an airport. But what they found was the adults they weren't going from one place to another that stank of stale smoke. So when they were coming home after a day of work, where they were in an environment in an office where they weren't allowed to smoke, and they went to a pub afterwards that you weren't allowed to smoke in, they came home and their home stank of stale smoke. So they started smoking in the garden. And the fact that so many people started smoking in the garden, that meant their young kids weren't inhaling the toxic, brutally toxic carcinogens, which kill 6 million people a year. Good old smoking. Many children who die of asthma in developing nations die because their parents smoked. So just, maybe have a think about that. Next time you have a cigarette, you're giving money to companies that purposefully kill children in Ghana. And if the Ghanaian government or the Sierra Leonean government or the Nigerian government want to put health warnings on the packets of their cigarettes, they take those governments to court to stop them. Don't put health warnings on these incredibly toxic things that cause 17 different types of cancer. I know it's not 17. I know it's a set number. I don't. Should we look it up? Come on, let's look it up. Let's do a new show. It's called Graham Looks Things Up before he says it. How many types of cancer does smoking cause? Let's go. At least 15. I wasn't at. Oh, come on. I guess 17. That was a good guess. You got to give me that. It was a good guess. So the AI overview says smoking causes at least 15. And on Cancer Research UK's website, it says it causes at least 16. At least 16. So 17 might have been deadly accurate. It might have been right on that. Right on the money. Finger on the pulse. Yeah. Anyway, it causes cancers of the lung, bladder, cervix, colon, esophagus, kidney, larynx, liver, mouth, nose, pancreas, stomach, throat, and acute myeloid. I can't even say that. But acute causes leukemia. It's also linked to cancers of the rectum, ovary, and bone marrow. Sorry, my excitement about getting that about right outweighed the public health message there, which is stop fucking smoking. Just stop it. It's bad for you. It's bad for everyone around you. It's bad for the environment. It's just bad. There is nothing good. And you're giving money to killers. You're literally giving... It's like giving a weekly subscription to mine manufacturers, people who make landmines. Yeah. Yeah, could you make some more landmines and cripple some more children in I don't know, East Timor or something? Yeah, cheers. Thanks for that. Here's some more money to go and build some more mines, bury them in the ground. Anyway, I remember as a kid and youngest in extended family, with them all smoking around me, everywhere in the car, everywhere. Yeah. The problem in the UK is that we want to do the least amount of change for the maximum benefit. That never happens. No, I disagree, Chris, respectfully. I think that the problem is that the government doesn't have any fucking balls, right? Because when the government does something that is seen as a bit unpopular, like really good examples, smoking ban, but also 20 mile an hour limit on cars in Wales, and they're taking the 30 mile an hour zones down to 20, and the ULEZ scheme in London. Lots of people screaming and shouting when it happened, but then once it was in place, everyone was like, oh, okay. And they just adjusted. But what the oil companies know, because they're not idiots, is that if you leave it to up to humans to do, we will take the path of least resistance. We'll take the path of most convenience most of the time. And this is why we need government legislation. And you can see this across the board, not just for us as individuals and what decisions that we make in our lives, but also, you know, the oil companies are quite happy that to buy an electric car, you have to have twice as much money as if you're just going to buy an internal combustion engine car. At least twice as much money. You have to be earning twice as much to be able to afford it. Like, it's dead expensive. They like the fact that it's dead expensive to make electric cars. That price is going to go down. It's going to go down massively in the next few years because of scale and because it's just easier to make things out that are electric, as I was discussing yesterday with the new modular Fords that will be coming out in a few years' time. I feel like the way that we can actually make these oil companies and cigarette manufacturers and explosives manufacturers, the merchants of death, as they're called in the movie Thank You for Smoking, the merchants of death, how we can bring them to heel is not by public pressure. It's not by us doing recycling or greenwashing or looking at our carbon footprint or any of this bullshit that they like to foment us. It's by regulation being brought in by the government to say, no single-use plastics in this country. That's it. Can't have them. Unless someone's going to literally fucking die unless a single-use plastic exists. You can make it for medical purposes, maybe. Maybe we'll have a few carve-outs, but aside from that, you can't use it for packaging for your fucking... You go into a supermarket and they've got four apples in a little tray that's polystyrene, and it's in a plastic sleeve. It's in like a plastic bag. Apples, and you're like, really? Ms. Paula Thomas, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Smoking also causes amputation via peripheral vascular disease. Yes. Yeah, it's all round a bad thing, and it costs our NHS a lot of money dealing with these issues that people essentially give themselves. But it's like with eating, it's smoking, drug taking, or whatever. The world is set up in a way that makes some of these things absolutely inevitable, and there are smug motherfuckers who sit there and go, well, it's just a case of willpower, isn't it? It's just a case of willpower. And it's not. It's not. Because the amount of pressure being put on you, just when I was a kid, like when I was a kid, smoking adverts were legal. Like you could have adverts for cigars on TV. You could have billboards. I still remember the billboards everywhere. That would be like a pattern or something, and it would have Benson and Hedges written on it or some other cigarette company. And you went into the sweet shop as a kid to buy a Beano and a packet of Garbage Pail Kids, and behind the shopkeeper in every shop in the land were all these brightly coloured bits of cardboard boxes with cigarettes inside them, something that you could only have once you were grown up. And what does every kid want more than anything, more than a PlayStation 5 at Christmas? They want to be seen as a grown up. They want to pretend to be grown up even when they're not. And that's why so many kids start smoking. And the cigarette companies fucking know this. And that's why they marketed their cigarettes in the way that they did, and were allowed to by the government. And yeah, it was that to me is shows just how much pressure is put on people when you talk about the health crisis to do with eating ultra processed food. What choice do people have? What choice do people have? McDonald's is cheap as fuck for a family of 4. If you want to go out for a meal, right, with your kids, and you want to take them out, for a treat, someone's birthday or whatever, you can't afford to take them out to Pizza Express. It's too fucking expensive. You're talking about like 80 quid to feed your family. 80 quid versus what? 16 quid at McDonald's? Like, fuck all. That's why people go to McDonald's. It's because it tastes good. It doesn't even fucking taste. Maybe after you've eaten enough of it, it starts tasting good. But the reality is, people can't afford this stuff. People, and it might not even be the money side of it. It might just be the time. It takes an hour to prepare fucking anything. I hate these cookbooks where they're like 15 minutes. Oh, it takes 15 minutes to cook. I have never, ever in my life made something apart from maybe cheese on toast at a fucking stretch that's only taken me 15 minutes to put together. Fuck off, especially if it's like things to cut and you've got to make your fucking curry paste and you've got to do this and you've got 15. Are you on crack? I'll see you in 2 hours' time, mate. If I start a roast meal, I know that's a bad example because obviously roast meal is a bit more complicated than beans on toast, but if I making a roast meal, it's a good 2 hours. A good 2 hours. And then you got to eat the fucking stuff. And then you got to clean up after you've fucking eaten. How about something that comes in a plastic tray that you just pull the film back on, you put it in the microwave, press the button, 30 seconds, it's fucking, no, maybe not 30 seconds. 3 minutes and it's hot. Great, eat it. And then you've got a tray, you just put it in the bin. The whole process has maybe taken you 15 minutes. Whereas, if you cooked a whole fucking meal with mashed potato and meat and veg, and you'd have to cook the bit of veg, it would have taken you fucking ages. And you'd have lots of pans to clean up. You'd have plates to clean up. And I just hate the fact that you've got these fucking smug motherfuckers sitting there going, "Oh, it's easy. It's easy. You just don't do it, darling." What if you're growing up in a less than happy household, and your only outlet is getting off your tits on drugs? And yeah, I completely get that. You need something to take the edge off. You start self-medicating because you can't deal with the everyday life. I completely understand that. But we have a mad system where if you go to the doctor and say, "Listen, I really need some medication for my ADHD. It's impacting my work. I can't get on with stuff. I'm finding a lot of things, everyday stuff, really, really difficult," right? The doctor will say, "Okay, I'll write you a prescription." And you might have to wait. Like I've had to wait. I waited 18 months for my ADHD diagnosis, and then I had to go private for it, but it was through the NHS, through Right to Choose. And now I'm waiting to get some medication, and I'll be waiting till November at the earliest. Or I could go and visit my local fucking drug dealer and get some speed, but that's illegal. That's illegal. So I've just got to suffer in me jocks. And it's the same with people who are suffering mentally across the board. They might go to they might be told, "Oh, you can get this from the NHS," but it might not touch the sides. And we've set our society, we've set people up to fail every step of the way. And then once they fall into the trap that has been set, these smug motherfuckers, especially in the newspapers, like to point to people, going, "Oh, look at this person here. Oh, look at them." I completely understand why people smoke. I fucking hate it. I completely understand why people take drugs. I fucking hate it. But I understand. I'm not going to sit here and say you're a bad person for doing this thing, because a lot of people, it's not their fault. It's the way society has been constructed to make money for evil motherfuckers. For people who just want to screw you over in your life. And it's incredibly frustrating when you see simple, yes, I don't like the whole thing about simple solutions to complex problems. And I know that there's going to be never a one size fits all that's going to sort everything. But just because there's not going to be a one size fits all that sorts everyone and works for everyone, has no side effects and has no downsides, that people seem to think that we shouldn't even try. People seem to think that we shouldn't even try. Anyway, I'm just going to have to go for a second. There's a knock on the door, so I'll be back in a moment. I'll leave you with our politics social items. Oh, hello. Sorry, had to go and answer the door. It was Cat's friends coming around. Plum Duff. Oh my God, what a time to come back. Thank you so much. Plum Duff has just dropped in the chat there an absolutely insane, lovely, incredible £50 super chat. Thank you so much. That is so kind of you, Plum Duff. Thank you. Get yourself a cuppa on me. Cheers to you good people and the great Graham Hughes. Have a happy day, people. Oh, thank you. Oh, I needed that. Cheers, Plum. Cheers. There's a lot of things going on at the moment that are not great for me. So that really gives me a little jump in me stride, a little skip in me step. Thank you, Plum Duff. I really appreciate that. That's really cool. Okay, well, I will continue. I've started, and therefore I will continue. We're going to go over to it's 10 o'clock now. It's 10:02, so we're going to go over to the newspapers to do that for a moment. Yeah, but just to end that point, it's regulation that we need from the government to rein in these corporations that just want to make money. And if you have, it's insane to expect one profit-making company, industry, whatever, to change their way to make things less profitable for them while not making the same sacrifice across the board for their competitors. That's the problem. And the only way you can do that is through government regulation. And like I say, there's no panacea, there's no one size fits all, there's no simple solution to complex problems, but we could at least start that journey in a lot of these circumstances. We can say, right, no more single-use plastics. Let's stop this at source. None of them in our country. We don't want them in our country. And be an example for the world. Be a good example for the world. Right, the A-level results came out yesterday. So obviously there's going to be lots of pictures of young people, attractive young people opening their results. So let's go over and have a look at them. First of all, we've got the Murdoch paper here. We've got which artwork best represents Britain, and it for my money, Cold War Steve. And scientists use AI to create new superbug-killing antibiotics. As I mentioned this earlier, scientists have used artificial intelligence to design 2 antibiotics that could provide a powerful weapon against superbugs, including MRSA. It was MRSA. I was getting dyslexic in my head. I was like, is it MSRA? Anyway, roll the tape back. Let's see what I said. Trump eyes economic incentives for Putin. US president highlights oil and gas before talks. Yay, oil, gas. That's destroying the planet and killing us all. Woo. Peer pressure from Farage for first reform lords. Peer pressure. See what they've done there. Nigel Farage has demanded that Keir Starmer allow him to nominate Reform UK peers to the House of Lords. No, fuck off. Piss off. I just, a democratic disparity. No, go away. We don't want you. And then we've got students at St. Aidan's and St. John Fisher Sixth Form in Harrogate celebrating their A-level results yesterday. So good on them. Right. Sometimes I would explode, says Suicide Bomber. No. Says John Fogerty of Creedence Clearwater Revival. Creedence Clearwater Revival. Creedence, CCR. Who I saw at Glastonbury just before Pulp came on, or Patchwork as they were billed. But yes, John Fogerty, writer of such classics as Have You Ever Seen the Rain, Bad Moon Rising, and Although I don't think their version was the best. But Proud Mary, they did the original Proud Mary. He wrote Proud Mary, but obviously it's the Tina and Ike Turner version that is definitive. It's one of those things where the cover version supersedes the original, like Jeff Buckley's Hallelujah or Johnny Cash's Hurt. You know what I'm talking about. The cover version. Perfect. Right. Moving on. Family of Southport victim criticised plan to reveal ethnicity of suspects. We spoke about this earlier in the week, whether it's a good idea or not. And I was wrong again. Oh shit. I feel like it's. I understand the feeling at the government of like when something happens, if they don't reveal the ethnicity and it is someone who is white who did it, but the blame gets put on some ethnic minority or an asylum seekers or a religious minority. You get the touch-wielding maniacs going out. And if you say, no, they're white, it's okay, they're white, and then you won't get the riots. Because that's the country we live in at the moment. But at the same time, you are opening the door for insane levels of racism and prejudice. And when someone from an ethnic minority commits a crime and it's revealed they are part of an ethnic minority, and that's revealed by the police immediately, then I don't think that's going to quell the nutters who want to run around destroying stuff, setting stuff on fire, kicking over garden walls, throwing bricks at police. I don't really see this as the best way to do it. Maybe on a case-by-case basis, but otherwise, I think what needs to happen is the likes of Nigel fucking Farage need to go to jail for stirring up the Farage riots last summer, and anyone who goes on social media and speculates about the ethnicity of a victim, of a perpetrator, or the victims, should go to fucking jail for contempt of court. You should make a new rule. You don't talk about the possible suspects because innocent until proven guilty, and we risk tarring an entire community with the same brush. So I would go the other way. I would go, rather than going after the potentially causing problems for entire communities, because a Zoroastrian commits a crime and that's it for the whole Zoroastrian community in the UK. I would rather the onus is by the government is put on people, not especially people like Nigel Farage who got massive followings, not to speculate on the ethnicity of suspects in particular crimes. And if you do, you get a fine or you go to jail. Simple as that. I don't know if that's going to be impractical, but it's not like there's only about 1,000 private school people who run the country. So I mean, it's not that many people who can actually fuck things up to the level that would mean they foment an actual riot. But I think once again, Labour are looking down the wrong end of the telescope. So there you go. Mr. Paul Thomas, saw it on Blue Sky. Haven't really watched anything on the BBC pretty much since the referendum, says SG. Noob, I wonder if the translators just get on with their own things. With a nod and a wink, says Lost Missionary. Captain Coconut, meat pie, sausage roll. Come on, England, give us a decent water treatment facilities. Viper says, SG, yep, BBC is biased to get information news off YouTube channels, I know. Ground News and TDLR are very good. TLDR even. Jesus. Not doing so well with my spellings today. And yeah. PayPal, says Martin Harrow. PayPal. Yes. If you want to drop a super chat in using PayPal, it's Graham David Hughes. Just type in Graham David Hughes, you'll see a little picture of me. Should come up and send it as family and friends. And then you don't have to pay money to the likes of Peter Thiel and Elon Musk, who I don't know if they still have shares in PayPal, but I assume they do. Right, over to the papers, back again. So yeah, the family of BB King, one of the 3 girls killed in the Southport attack last year, have urged ministers to reconsider their support for disclosing the ethnicity of serious crime suspects, saying this information is completely irrelevant and the propensity to commit crime happens in any ethnicity, nationality, or race. And they're completely correct on that. Theologian in Jenrick Rao offers olive branch. The theologian who accused Robert Jenrick of xenophobia on the BBC has invited the shadow minister to work with him to ease tensions over migration rather than ramping up the anti-immigrant sentiment. I don't think that Robert Jenrick is just a xenophobe. I think he's a racist as well. I think he's a vile piece of work. VJ Day, it's August the 15th. It's VJ Day, victory over Japan. And it was the day the Japanese surrendered. They faced untold horrors thousands of miles from home, and they were the lucky ones. They came home. So many didn't. Remember, today we remember them all. Thank you to the Brits who fought against Japan in the Pacific theatre of combat of war in the Second World War. Now I've obviously travelled to a lot of the Pacific Islands. I've been to Guadalcanal in the Solomon Islands, and I've been to Palau, and I've been to places where the Japanese occupied. And travelled around China as well, and read about the Japanese occupation. I've been to the famous bridge on the River Kwai in Thailand, and I've been to Singapore, and been to the museum there where they catalogue some of the atrocities that the Japanese forces committed in Nanjing in China. There was 2 months in which 200,000 civilians were killed, 20,000 at least women were raped, taken as I think they called them comfort women or something. Absolutely horrific crimes. I think in Nanjing, it got to a point where there was a Nazi there who had been sent there by the Nazi government, a German, who was in Nanjing at the time at the Nazi German embassy. And I think that he actually said this is a bit much and allowed people to be protected by the Nazi German embassy over there because of what what the Japanese forces were doing were so horrific that they that even a Nazi was like, "Ooh, this is a bit much." And again, like in many countries around the world, don't want to acknowledge their history, Britain being one, the Japanese aren't too keen on talking about this, on talking about what horrors were committed against the people of Korea, the people of China, the people of Singapore, the people of Malaysia and Thailand. And a lot of kids don't know about it. They're not brought up learning about it in the same way that a lot of kids aren't brought up learning just how brutal the British Empire was during the age of slavery, and then in the age of exploitation. We call it the age of colonization, but let's call it the whole thing was a age of exploitation. The idea that we could just go over to anywhere we wanted in the world, stick our flag down underground, and steal all their natural resources and kill anyone who complained about it. Those days are over, thankfully, but the damage that Britain did during its colonial era and during the era of slavery earlier still resonate to this day. So as a student of history, I would like more people to know their own history, especially in places like the UK, the US, Japan, who might be a little bit fearful of looking back of what they did. In Germany, they have done a lot better at teaching the kids that what the Nazis did was wrong, something that they don't seem to teach in American schools at all. Not that that's helped in certain places in East Germany, where there's an entire generation that grew up under the Soviet kosh in East Germany, in the GDR, and they to this day believe that that Hitler had a point or something, because they were never taught. And if you look at where the AfD do rather well, it's usually in places in the east of Germany rather than places in the west of Germany, and that goes to show how much of a difference good education makes, so that people understand what the stakes were, what happened, how we fucked up, and why we shouldn't do it again. And I do fear for the British syllabus, the fact that I could go and do history GCSE, history A-level, history at university, history and politics at university. In fact, I did a module on Victorian politics. So I learned about Earl Grey and Lord Palmerston and Gladstone Disraeli and all that. And I didn't find out that the population of Ireland hasn't recovered from the potato famine till I went there in 2018 as part of the Three Blokes in the Pub podcast and met people in Northern Ireland and talked to them about the situation there. And then went down to Dublin and talked about stuff that, how Brexit was going to affect our neighbours and our friends and family, our cousins, brothers and sisters in the Republic of Ireland. And I didn't know until that point that the Irish population still hadn't recovered from the famine, the man-made famine of the 1840s. Didn't know about it, hadn't learnt about it. Didn't learn about the Bengal famine till I was literally in Bengal. I was in Kolkata and read up about it. I was like, fucking hell. I was reading about the Black Hole of Calcutta. And I came across this story of 1944, I think it was, when there was a massive famine across Bengal, which is that area of India that comprises a big part of what's now Bangladesh and also the area around that's now in India. The food that the people needed was taken away for the war effort. Yeah. Joanna says, check your PayPal, Graham. Oh, okay. Oh, thank you so much, Chrissy. I love it when I get a super chat to remind me to look at something. Hang on. Let me have a look. It's exciting. Thank you. That is in stark contrast to the Germans who do teach the full events of World War II. Yes, but like I say, you Paula, you can see the difference between the kids who are now in their 50s and 60s in West Germany, who obviously learnt this stuff growing up, and the ones in East Germany who didn't. So yeah, that affects the voting patterns, and that's why the AfD does well on one side and not necessarily the other. I'm just checking me pay. I just thought I was already logged in, but I'm not. I'm not already logged in, and it's gonna do me all me. What's it called? The things. Oh, there you go. Oh, thank you, Joanna. Thank you, Joanna. Hey, Joanna's just put £30 in. Thank you very much. Not trying to be an arse, just really hate incorrect information. Have some cash and please try to cheer up. I'll try, Joanna. Sorry, it's been a particularly tough week, so I'm trying not to be a grump. I'm trying my best not to be a grump, but thank you so much for this super chat. I really appreciate that. Indians have not recovered from the famine exacerbated by the British, says SG. I have a gene that makes me fat because of that famine, says SG. Yeah, that is generational trauma. That is mad, isn't it? That like they found that when people are starving and they get pregnant, the baby that then grows up will have genes that mean, like you say, that they suffer from certain health ailments because of the environment of their mother when they were in the womb. And the thing is, if you're a woman, your eggs are produced. The eggs that you have, you're born with them. So all the eggs that you ever have are made when you're in your mummy's tummy. And so when those women grow up and have kids of their own, those kids can be affected by this generational trauma. And so the pain goes on. And there are some amazing things that Britain has done in the past that we should be proud of. But we also need to be, if we're going to be proud of that stuff, we have to be aware of the shit that we pulled as well. And the same with any other country. The same with Germany, same with Japan, same with fucking Belgium. Belgium barely register the crimes that were committed by Leopold II in the Congo, in the Belgian Congo. This man killed millions of Congolese in his ruthless pursuit for the raw materials of Congo. The the atrocities that were committed in his personal fiefdom in Congo, just some of the accounts, I kind of have a form of PTSD from reading them. Never mind people who saw these things happen, but even reading about events that happened 125 years ago, they are so fucked up beyond anything that we could possibly talk about on a show on Friday morning. Because I wouldn't want to. This is about getting demonetized. This is about I don't want to traumatize other people. But some of the most messed up stuff that you could imagine happening in a horror movie, this is worse. And it actually happened. It actually happened. Miss Paula Thomas, the Irish famine, no recovery was something I found out about while I was trying to study history O level. But that was because I really noticed numbers, says Paula Thomas. Yeah. I mean, I think we did cover the famine. We did cover the famine of the 1840s. When I was in university, we did cover it. But that salient fact that the population still hadn't recovered is just mind-blowing. And that's not necessarily just because of how many people died. That's also because of how many people left. How many people just left the fucking country. Crack baby Olympics, says Sean. Hey, Sean, has anyone seen the clip of Liz Truss talking about the 2012 Olympics? Has anyone seen this? I can't even. Hang on. Let me try and find it. Olympics. Yeah. So this is a few days ago, right? She suggested that the elites, right, that hate the UK were behind the London 2012 opening ceremony. I'm not even kidding. This is what this fucking mad badger has said. They call it a brave stance on the Metro website. In an interview with Ben Shapiro, she suggested that an elite that hates Britain was behind the event that covered a broad sweep of British culture from the Industrial Revolution and children's literature to Shakespeare and Mr. Bean. But it was one section in particular that really wound up Shapiro, the celebration of the National Health Service. Speaking to Truss, he said the UK is suffering from an incredible shyness about championing what Britain is and what it historically has been. He continued, what comes to mind here when Britain hosted the Olympics, there was an entire display about the NHS, a gigantic display of dancing syringes and such for the NHS. I don't remember the dancing syringes, but whatever. This is the country that brought the world the Magna Carta, free speech, parliament. These are all concepts that built the modern world. And what they choose to celebrate is a giant welfare system that has many women giving birth in hallways, something that doesn't happen. I mean, in America, women give birth at home and die because they don't want to go into hospital because the bill will be too big. I just the views expressed in the Olympic ceremony are not the views of the average Briton. The problem is we have an elite that hates Britain, and they have done so for some time. So, just a question for you: who do you think hates Britain more? Right? The people who really enjoyed the opening ceremony of the Olympics in 2012, or the people who not just snipe about the opening ceremony, which is the last time that I honestly felt proud of this country, but also, right, tanked our economy. In that interview, she's going on about the secretive, what they call the dark government or something that's hiding in plain sight or something, and they run everything and they hate Britain and all this kind of stuff. I tell you who really hates Britain. The oil companies. They don't want us. They just want our money. They don't care about any of us. But there you go. Here's a good news, Graham. I think we could all appreciate a pick me up. Well, the AI story I think is good. Like I say, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. to find an antibiotic against superbugs, that is going to save people's lives, save thousands, perhaps millions of lives down the line. That's a really good news story. Um, and then we've got the back to some bad news. We've got the Daily Mail here saying that the Manjaro is going up 170%. Price is going up as the President of the United States demands that the UK pay more. The cost of King Kong fat jab Manjaro will almost triple in Britain after Donald Trump sparked a global drugs price war. So that's some bad news, also caused by Donald Trump, who's a fucking gobshite. He's a see you next Tuesday, and no mistake. He is the world's biggest shit. He's having a meeting today with the world's other biggest shit, who's not quite as big because just physically sized. They're both made of toxic chemicals and gloom and death and shite, feces and fish guts. And they are meeting today, and they're going to decide on the fate of a country that neither of them should be involved in whatsoever. It's got nothing to do with them. No, it's someone else's country. They're deciding the fate of someone else's country. We're going to go over to Taylor Swift here, looking gorge. She's unveiling her racy new look there, which is great because she's Taylor Swift and everything she does is awesome. She's got a new album coming out on the 3rd of October, The Life of the Showgirl. If anyone is interested in watching in a countdown for that, please join me on the 2nd of October, when we'll be having a countdown on this channel to the new Taylor Swift album being released. You think I'm joking, don't you? Anyway, a celebration of the heroes of our forgotten war. I don't think anyone's forgotten World War II, mate. But continue on. The West must not be cowed by Putin. Armed Forces Chief backs NATO as Trump says talks today will set the table for more. And there's Zelensky drinking from a 10 Downing Street mug. And then I thought the mug in 10 Downing Street was Keir Starmer. Thank you. I'm here all week. I'm here all week. Universities putting bums on seats as high A-level grades rise. Anger as St George's flags for Pray to Council's safety campaign. A Labour-run council has ordered the removal of Union and St George's flags from lampposts. Yes. Because they're dangerous. Because if one flies off into the path of oncoming traffic, it can cause an accident. Someone might die. So you could put a rag up a fucking lamppost. I mean, no. Just you gotta have rules. Sorry. It's all right. You know what? If I put up flags in a refuck area saying that Nigel Farage is a see you next Tuesday, pretty sure they'll take them down. Pretty sure the council, if I went round Durham, which is a refuck city council here, if I put up flags saying Nigel Farage is a shit, I'm pretty sure they'll take them down. Free speech. What happened to free speech? MOD admits to serious nuclear incident. This is about Faslane. A serious nuclear incident took place at the Faslane Naval Base in Scotland earlier this year. A Category A event, which they're just admitting to now. Actual high potential for radioactive release into the environment. Great. Wow. Yeah. SG. Pointing out, wasn't the actual Queen part of the opening ceremony? Yeah, she parachuted down into the arena with James Bond. Oh my god! Imagine sitting there watching the opening ceremony, like Liz Truss sitting there, going, "But they're not saying anything about pork markets." Where's the cheese? Where is the cheese? What a mess. What a... Chrissy, we are proud of our NHS. At least we don't allow people to go bankrupt or even die because they are ill or injured. Yeah. The American healthcare system is an absolute abomination. It doesn't serve anyone except for the CEOs of the insurance companies. For what? Graham is here all week. Thank God it's Friday. No worries. And then we've got extra time for prostate cancer sufferers. Men with incurable prostate cancer could be given precious extra time by tailored immunotherapy. This is a fantastic new therapy for for cancers, which involve changing your. Oh, hang on a sec. Which involves a tailored approach to you individually, based on your own immune system. Paula Thomas, thank you very much for the £20 super chat. In the Dutch hunger winter of 1944 to 45, the effect depended on which trimester the hunger hit. In one case, the baby and descendants would grow up thin. In the baby and descendants would grow up fat. However little they ate. Yeah, that is mad, isn't it? It affects the DNA of the baby developing if the mother is stressed and starving. I know it was a serious incident. That burrito would just not budge. MOD had to help by providing a stick. What? Thanks so much for the super chat there, Paul. That's really kind of you. And I agree. I mean, it's maddening, isn't it? That the horrors that went on in the past still echo through history, through time, to this day. We have people who just don't want to acknowledge it, want to pretend that it's not real, want to pretend it didn't happen, want to stick their fingers in their ears and go la 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 la, and go, well, I don't see why I didn't personally go out and shoot anyone in the face just because my ancestors did, and that's why I live in this big castle. Doesn't mean that I should pay any reparations. I've got children to feed caviar. Anyway, so thanks very much to Paulette Thomas for that super chat. Back to the Tory graph scum. Lily Allen is on the paper there because, privately educated, of course. And then we've got Israel to build over Palestine state plans. Israel has announced it will build an enormous settlement in the West Bank to effectively bury the idea of the Palestinian state. Because they're committed to the two-state solution. Honest gov. Jesus Christ. We'll do another episode all about Israel on the show. But Saz, thank you very much for the £10 super chat. Appreciate all you do, Graham, and this lovely community. Oh, thank you, Saz. That's really nice of you. Thank you for that. I'm much appreciated. Much appreciated. I've just got to do something, and this is a really minor thing, but I realised that when I went between my screens, one of the chat window on this side of the screen was moving slightly when I transitioned, and so I've just fixed that. So there you go. Doesn't move now. Look, can transition and it doesn't move. Yes. It's got to be perfect. Anyway, economic growth cut after tax in half after tax raid. Britain's economic growth was cut in half in the second quarter of the year. Official figures show. Yeah, because we pulled out the EU. And then we've got a thing about Wayne Rooney, don't care. On the star there, our VJ heroes gave more than freedom. They left us an example of how it and how it can and must be protected. Okay, we don't seem to be learning the lessons of that. And the reason we're not learning the lessons of that is because of papers like the Daily Express here, which is a scumbag publication. We've got students facing yearly tuition fee hikes to bail out struggling universities. Fees could rise by £250 next year to £9,800 on the plans being considered by ministers that would introduce automatic annual increases in line with the rate of inflation, which makes sense in a way, but also doesn't make sense because what we could do is have more foreign students coming over and make them pay more and make them subsidise the British students who are there, which sounds a lot more sensible. If you go to the Taj Mahal, right, you pay more as a tourist than a local. You pay 20 rupees, and the local will pay 2 rupees. I know it's a lot more than that now, but you pay a lot more. And the same in Egypt. If you go to the pyramids, obviously you've got the local payment that you have to make if you're a local, and you've got the tourist payment that you have to make if you're a tourist. And I don't mind because it's not my country, and I want to support the place. And I realise that people who are in that country deserve, stuff for maintaining things as they are. And if we are going to have a British country, a country in a few years' time where we have this incredible number of graduates, over 50% of young people are now graduating from university. I want to see a country fit for heroes. That's what I want. And I think part of that is not saddling people with a crushing mountain of debt as they step out into the outside world and try and make some fucking money. I saw a piece yesterday, right? And it's probably worth looking up. But it was looking at the purchasing power equivalent of what our parents had in the 1970s for buying houses, okay? Buying houses in America. This is in America, right? And the question was asked, how much would the minimum wage have to be in America? The minimum wage is currently $7.50 an hour in America. $7.50, right? How much the minimum wage would have to be to give the children, the kids today, the same level of purchasing power when it comes to property that their parents had or the grandparents had in the 1970s. $66 an hour. I'll say that again. $66 an hour. But avocados. And then we've got Taylor Swift here. Ooh, Taylor Swift's launching new look. She's looking great there. She's launching an album, which is very exciting. Cost of fat jabs to triple. US maker reveals shock price rise. Monjono users face an extra £2,704 a year bill as US pharma giant bows to Trump pressure. Oh, Jesus. And we've got a picture of Elon Musk there, who's used Maduro to lose weight. And then finally, we've got the hug. There's a hug. The hug that tells Trump we've got Zelensky's back. PM signals Europe's commitment to secure a fair settlement for Ukraine and warns Putin must prove he's serious about peace, which he's never going to do. So, there you go. That's the papers. Chris C says, thing is, there isn't the graduate job positions these days, or the ones that are available don't pay a fair and decent wage to compensate for the time and money put into gaining that degree. Yeah. You're right. I mean, look, yeah. Captain says, surely privatizing student debt would be cost effective. I cannot see how they would get away with increasing it other than inflation unless they would want to be seen as awful people. Oh, wait, they are. Privatizing student debt, they have privatized student debt in the past. So, companies have come in and they've bought the debt. And then people like me have got to 25 years after we graduated and they've not got a penny. Sorry. If that money was owed to the government, I'd feel a bit guilty about that. But that money was owed to a private company that chose to buy that debt. So, yeah. Oh, my God. This summer was the first summer that I didn't have to send my bank statements showing how little money I earn to the student loan company or Erdogan or whatever the fuck it's called now, Adoro and whatever it's called. I didn't have to send them my private personal information. Cool. How cool is that? Yeah. I had to show them what purchases I'd made in the last 2 months or 3 months. Fantastic. Yeah, I agree. USD $7.50. I think that's minimum wage in the US. Brett says his worst mate, it's $7.25. Jesus. Well, in the UK, it's gone up to 12 quid now. Is it £12.11? Is it? I'm gonna have to look this up. Heaven forfend. Minimum wage, I think, went up in April to £12.21. What did I say? Did I say £12.11? Oh, it's 10p out. £12.21 an hour. It is now for those 21 and over. Which is, I mean, that's twice what it is in America. Which is good in a way, but also it's bad that in a world in which that the cost of living has just gone through the fucking roof, mostly because of Nigel Farage's Brexit. Just a question on Ukraine. Trump said recently that NATO are now paying the US for their weapons. Is that true, or is it true Trump misspeak? Storyteller because Tiller was taken. No, I mean, the NATO doesn't buy weapons. It doesn't work like that. Trump doesn't understand what NATO is. He doesn't understand how it works. But essentially, you've got 32 countries, and they all agree to step in to help each other if one of them gets invaded, and they all agree to spend a certain amount of their GDP on the military. So there's no sort of freeloaders who are not spending anything on their military, and everyone else stands to pick up the slack if Malta gets invaded, for instance. Not that Malta will get invaded. If you look at the Maltese flag, it's not a Maltese cross on the Maltese flag. It's the flag. It's the George Cross, which is the civilian version of the Victoria Cross that was handed to the entire island for their fight against the Nazis in World War II. In fact, I don't think Malta was ever taken by the Nazis. And it was one of the few islands in the Mediterranean that was never invaded properly by the Nazis. They never took over. Anyway, but yeah, if you want to make a Maltese cross, step on his toe. But yeah, that was the idea. So you've got all these countries that have X amount of money to spend on manufacturing, on arms. And that could be guns, weapons, landmines, nuclear bombs. It could be jet aircraft and stuff like that. What these countries have done is they're putting bigger orders because more of them are spending money on arms, not necessarily because of Trump, but more probably because of what's happening with Putin and Ukraine. And they're ramping up the arms manufacturing across the board. In the UK, it's gone up by threefold or something insane like that. And so the money that's getting spent, it means there's more being spent, stuff getting built, and some of that's going to America. So it's not like NATO giving money to America to build stuff. It's buying stuff from America, buying more stuff from America. It's Britain, as a member of NATO, buying more stuff from America, and that's what he's trying to win on. But he doesn't really understand it. He doesn't understand NATO. He doesn't understand tariffs. He doesn't understand geopolitics. He doesn't understand anything because he's a fucking idiot. There are 2 minimum wages in the US. One quoted is the higher one. If your work normally receives tips, the minimum wage is lower at $2.13. Yeah. Yeah. Just how that can be legal, I don't know. I do not know. Yeah, the One Seal baby man can say whatever he wants. It does not make it true. Martin says, Mr. Tisk 27 will wait for my sister to come here rather than visit. Flights cost pay. We're going great nights out with our families. That's cool. And then we got David there saying Europe might affect the US arms industry if it produces better arms. Yeah, absolutely. I hope it does. I wish we didn't need arms. I wish we weren't in this situation. We've been put in this situation by the vampires in charge. Anyway, right, I'm going to have to go because I need to have some breakfast before I faint, and I do need to go and drive a car some distance in a moment and then get back here for 1 o'clock for the agenda with me and Phil Morehouse. So we thought we wouldn't be able to do an agenda this week, or Phil would have to do it on his own. But since I'm still here, I didn't go to the Skunk and Nancy gig, the Smashing Pumpkins gig last night in Colchester. We are doing the show. So that's going to be at 1 o'clock today. So please join me for that. And then tonight, 9:30, I think I'm going to crack open a beer. I think I've got one little Moretti beer left in the fridge from a barbecue we had about 3 months ago. Someone brought. So I'm going to crack open that beer and just relax. I'm just going to relax. And I'm probably going to let other people talk. I don't know if Mike's going to be able to join us tonight. He might have a hot date. Lucky bastard. If you do want to join us for the Friday night social, you are very welcome to do so. And we will just be talking about all this shit that's going down. Obviously, by then, I guess the summer will be over in Alaska. No, it won't, will it? Because the time zone over there, they're practically on the international dateline in Alaska. So it's probably going to be midnight before we get any news on what's been happening over there, probably even later. So we'll have to see. We will have to see. Hopefully they get an early start so we can comment on it tonight on the Friday Night Social. So until then, thank you very much for watching. Thank you so much for the super chats, especially Joanna there for the £30 super chat, which was very, very generous. And also Miss Paula Thomas there, who's put in a lot today. And also Plum Duff. Thank you so much for that mega chat. Really, really appreciate it so much. We're a bit down, as you might imagine, on our income this month, since I've been away and been up the wall and not done as many shows as normal. So I'm going to try and get back on that horse as soon as possible. But starting with tomorrow, today, we've got 3 shows today for you. And so please join us for them. And until next time, I'll say thank you so much for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and